Welcome, everybody, to the first session of Fresh Insights in 2026. My name is Bathsheba Okwenje. I'm the UNAIDS Regional Communications Advisor, and I'll be moderating this session. So, about this particular briefing. So, this Fresh Insights episode is titled The Cost of Criminalization, How Structural Homophobia is Fueling HIV Risk Worldwide. And this session will give more of a focus on Eastern and Southern Africa. And what this breaks down, what this session will do, it breaks down a study that was published in the Social Science and Medicine Journal on how structural homophobia is associated with sexual behaviors that increase HIV risk among sexual and gender diverse people. The study looked across 180 countries and like I said, there will be strong emphasis on Eastern and Southern Africa. So basically, the study explores how discriminatory laws and hostile social climates not only increase individual experiences of stigma, but are also directly and indirectly associated with higher HIV risk-taking behavior, like I said, but also impact on general well-being. And I'm happy to share. So let me go into introductions. Let me introduce our presenter. We're happy to have with us our speaker, Eric Lamontagne, who's a senior advisor for inequality and economics of HIV at UNAIDS. And he was instrumental in facilitating this study. Thank you so much, Eric, for coming to join us on Fresh Insights and for sharing your insights with us. Over to you.
Thank you, Sheba. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I'll try to present relatively quickly, so to make sure that we have enough time for a good groove and questions that you may have. So, as Sheba presented, he produced it. That's the latest paper we published, and on January 23, there's another study that was published on Nature Human Behavior in 23 December, just a month ago. Voilà. So this presentation goes a focus on the one on the screen, but we use some of the findings of other studies, including 2 other studies on legal context and the HIV testing intention among gay men and other MSM. So, and for the translation, you can eventually, if you're more comfortable asking the question in French, if ever it's the case, don't hesitate. I'll manage the translation. Okay, let's get started. Next slide, please. So, why this study? Why now in 2025? Well, because it still matters a lot, actually. Particularly in Africa, HIV is not only a biomedical issue. Okay, it is also shaped by behavior, but by laws, by institution, by cultural and social norms as well. And wherever we look around the globe, sexual and gender diverse people remain disproportionately affected by HIV. Okay, and we posit that this is driven largely by structural barriers rather than individual choices or lack of choices alone. So it suggests, and we're going to go through it, that enabling environment is a prevention priority, particularly in countries and settings where civic space is shrinking. Next slide, please. So the study question, I'm going to go a bit quick on this. The study question is, in plain language, is we ask clearly, do hostile and legal and social environment make people more vulnerable to HIV risk? And if yes, how does it happen in real life? There's a lot of material on this slide. I'm not going to spend time on the hypothesis. You will see them visually in a second, but you will see here on the text, we can go to the next Zoom, please. They are translated in plain English. It's clear questions, and as we ask as hypothesis. Next, move again, please. Yeah, that's cool. So what's in this study and its design? So it starts from the LGBTQ plus happiness survey that's reached more than 200 countries with more than 115,000 participants. And importantly, it's the number of partners we had, I mean, between civil society organizations, advocates, champions, social network, dating app, name it, they joined this survey, and make it happen. This is how we could reach that figures in terms of participant. In this particular paper of social science and medicine that I'm presenting now, we worked on a subset of the sample with almost 70,000. Okay, and why? Because we made some selection in terms of who is we are looking at. You can see below on the screen. Okay, basically cis and trans gender, non-binary, intersex, gay, bisexual, or queer, and who are at risk of acquiring HIV. Now, I would present you, we look at stigma and discrimination against sexual and gender diverse people in an ecological approach. See this as concentric circles. Basically, what you have at the bottom of your screen here is the largest circle, and at the center of the circle is the people. Okay. Now we have at the country level, we use a composite index called the Homophobic Climate Index that captures both the institutional homophobia, which is like the laws that criminalize, that restrict freedom, and so on, and social homophobia, which is how the society in itself goes to sexual and gender diversity. Can we go on the next Zoom? Okay. Now we go concentric circles closer to the individual, okay? The interpersonal level, which has three specific sub-dimensions. Okay, the first one is the local homophobia, as we frame it, which is the homophobia you will see in the street, you will hear at night, you will it's a verbal and physical abuse experienced by the people. Okay, then we have workplace homophobia, which is in black on the screen, which we include in it measures such as harassment, denial of promotion, being asked to stay in the back store, not to work with client and things like this. And then the third circle, the closest one is family homophobia. Is basically whether your family accept you as you are. And what this is to look at what we call this the outcome. The outcome variables is the question that you saw in the title of the paper, which is HIV-related sexual behavior. And we used risk aversion in general as a potential mediator. Don't focus on the words. I can answer these questions after. It's just to ask whether it plays a role in the middle. And we use a type of modeling, which is called structural equation modeling. I'm not going to get into the detail. I'll be happy to discuss more. You will see visually what it looks like in the next slide. So while we move to the next slide, I can tell you that a bit more information on the outcome. The outcome variable, okay, which is the HIV risk sexual behavior, comes from where, actually? It's a variable, it's different variables or questions that these 115,000 participants answered, okay, during the survey. There's a measurement of exposure and one of the context. Okay, the exposure is the number of unprotected anal intercourse one had in the previous 3 months. When we say unprotected, it's without condom, PrEP, or knowing your partner being undetectable. And the context is whether or not one, as a participant, inquire or collect, try to know about the HIV status of their partners. We combine them into a grade scale, okay, that goes basically like it's a 5 level from absolutely safe, like no unprotected anal intercourse, to very high, based on the number, the 2 variable above. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is what a SEM, so a structural equation modeling, looks like. The interesting part of it, okay, I'll try to resist getting into too much detail, but you can see pathways, okay? Let's be careful here. An arrow doesn't mean causality, okay? It means association. But here, there's a quasi causality, because there is a direction of the effect. And that's the big added value compared to our normal regression model. When we see an association, we don't know, example, between country level homophobia and, let's say, local homophobia, we don't know the direction of this association. But with this type of modeling, we can. So this is what it shows here, okay? You can see in the construction, I don't want to lack of time. You find it on the paper. Let's just move to next slide, because I'm going to talk about it in 5 variables, 5 results. So when you get the presentation, or you can download the paper, it's open access on social science and medicine. You will find these numbers. The first one, okay, these are the important things I would like to share with you. Structural homophobia, okay, the one at country level, legislation, and societal homophobia is associated or linked with HIV risk behavior. This is the direct association, okay? There's nothing in the middle, okay? It's by almost 7%. By the way, all these coefficients here, they are normalized, so we can compare a change, and the bigger is the number, the stronger is the effect. So that's a key on how to read them, including on the SEM visual and the previous one. So the homophobic climate index, the structural homophobia, is also associated with family homophobia. And this is the largest effect, 20%. Okay, so it's big. It's really big, in fact, and it shows how family is important, and perhaps should we intervene more? Should we help more to build this link or to avoid non-acceptance at this level? I'll be happy to discuss it at the end. The, the structural homophobia, that's the third point, is associated also with local violence and also discrimination at workplace. Okay, this is the community level experience, as we call it. It does play a role, and it matters. The local homophobia at its turn, now we get into the inner circles, is also associated, and it's a stronger effect with HIV risk behavior. So the closer it happens to the individual, the stronger is the effect. That's what I'm trying to make as a hint now. And the propensity to take risk, that's the last bullet, okay? There is a behavioral effect. I mean, someone who has a higher tolerance to risk in general in life uh, uh, is also associated with more likely having risky behavior during your sexual intercourse. Next slide, please. There's more details on Africa. And the data set has data of more than 5,000 sexual and gender diverse people in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. I'm not counting the North Africa here. And it says that the biggest number of participants came, like 1,000, so a fifth of them came from South Africa. So I'm really proud of those participants. Situation in Africa, I mean, as we say, an image is worth 1,000 words. On the right side of the screen, you can see this is the homophobic climate index. And we can see the greener, the more open the society and the legislation is not criminalizing, but supporting, in fact. But as you go orange and reddish and dark red, the worst is the situation with a higher homophobia at the structural and societal level. And it does matter in Africa. I mean, there's 64 countries where same-sex relationship is condemned, criminalized, and almost half of them, 31, are on the continent. And we also saw from the other study that more than Africa is where the sexual and gender diverse people reported the highest rate of physical violence, for more than a third of them. And the other study that we published last year showed that actually there are positive things, and we prove it as well. Countries where they legalize same-sex relationship, in these settings, the odds of ever being tested was twice what it was in the country criminalizing same-sex act. More than this, the countries where there's targeted MSM HIV policies, as we see, like in South Africa, that was associated with a 2.5 2.5 higher odds of ever being tested among the MSM and gay men. So the situation is bad. That's the first 2 points. And when we give it a chance and when we create an enabling environment, even if it's not perfect, it changes like this. That's twice different. Next slide. Yeah, quickly. I kind of already said it, but I'll say it maybe in a shorter way. Structural stigma, okay? The one, legislations and laws. It doesn't stay on papers. It doesn't stay just something high and impersonal. No, it flows down. It filters down to families, workplaces, and the and our streets. Sorry, so reducing this is the remember the size of the coefficient. I tried to get you. I highlighted in an earlier slide. Okay, the homophobia that happens downstream is much harder to change, to reduce than the one on top. The one on top happen, and there is a reaction, a chain reaction, basically, and just make it harder at the bottom if you don't change the top. Next slide, please. Yeah. I was asked to make it short, and I already know that I kind of abuse your generosity in terms of time. 3 take-home message, okay? I tried to convince you that structural stigma matters, okay? It's linked to lived discrimination and higher HIV risk. Second, local experience are pivotal, okay? The daily life violence and harassment, denial of promotion are strongly linked to HIV risk behavior, particularly at the family level, if you remember. And the third message that matters is that prevention is key, but prevention needs an enabling environment. We have to call a spade, okay? Right-based change and biomedical tools are not two separate things, okay? They act in synergy. And I will add something into this, is that civil society is the cement and it's the fuel that make it happen, this synergy between the two. Thank you very much. I think that was my last slide. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Eric. And we're a little bit over time, but we have about 3 minutes or so for questions. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. Eric, I have a question for you. It's really interesting. I was just wondering who else was involved in the study. So you led it, but who else was involved in rolling it out? Sorry, you're on mute. Eric, you're on mute.
We were 2 PI, principal investigator. So Sean Howell was the other PI, and but this role doesn't make a big difference. In fact, the thanks Medin, the who was involved in implementing it. This is where the 253 partners, civil society organizations, donors, UNAIDS country office helped a lot, and it was instrumental. Let me give you just quickly one example. In Liberia, And in South Africa, gay community could not walk like this, and the internet coverage is only 4%. Okay, it's terrible. So UNAIDS country office made a safe haven place, okay, with a laptop, where participants could come from the network that our UCD has to participate to this study into anonymity and so on. Okay, in country like Mauritania, where there's no internet and people don't have the money, some organizations took on them to go and reach out to people with their tablets. In Mozambique, just besides, a big organization, Compass, if I remember correctly, provided voucher for participants of their organization, their members, to attend the survey online. The airtime is too expensive. So this is just small examples of the success. The success is also, it was translated in 32 languages. 32, okay? And it costs zero. Why? Because it's colleagues, it's those civil society organizations in country who translated it, like Kenya did, for example, in Swahili. And this big thanks. You see, things changed like this. We had podcaster and YouTuber who did the promotion of the survey as well. I mean, it was a huge exercise, and so the credit goes to all these people, I have to say, in implementing it. Sorry, the answer was long, but I really want to acknowledge the amazing effort they did.
Nice. And then we have a question in the chat that's from Kaya, saying, do you have data from West Africa, especially Senegal, where she's from, as they're particularly concerned about the situation there?
Kaya, I understand why you're concerned. For those, we all read the news. It was difficult at the time of Michel, if you remember, and now we thought it was going better, and recent news are not encouraging at all. Yes, we do. I need to reopen the data set to tell you how many participants from Senegal, but yes, we do. We have many countries from West Africa, actually, West and Central. Nigeria, of course, bigger, so it's mathematical. The only country that is really Eastern Africa is Sudan and South Sudan. That was and Djibouti. That was, we were a bit sad of this, but the end is not huge, okay? But sometimes it is enough if you don't regress too many variables. I mean, you cannot put all the ingredient in your fridge in one regression, okay? Because then you need a huge sample size to keep the power of your regression. So if you apply the principle of parsimony, even with a 30 participant sample size, you can highlight key things, definitely.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kaya, for your questions. And I think now, we leave this session to reflect on the evidence Eric has shared, hoping it will spark new ideas in our approach towards sort of smarter HIV responses and ending AIDS by 2030. Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much for initiating this study that I hope we can all take and really think through, and hope that it really informs the way in which we approach our work towards ending AIDS. And then thank you for joining our first Fresh Insights of 2026. It's been